Okay, we're back. Man, we are so back. It's been a long, challenging week, you guys. So, you know what that means. It's time to get it out. It's time to play some drums. All right, it's time to talk about drums. It's time to play some drums. It's time to use that part of our brain that just does so many things, and the other parts of our brain just kind of shut off. So it's kind of like taking a break from everything, really, which I really like. So I'm going to shut up and just play. I have no idea what's going to happen. It could be really rusty. It could sound like crap. It could look like crap. Whatever the case, let me know. All right? Let's see what happens. Corey, hello. Okay. What's up, folks? It's Saturday. We're doing some drumming. This is our therapy. We're getting it out. Oh man. So I dropped a stick. Did you guys see that? Man, it's live. We're doing it live. Whoa, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Lewis with the $50 donation. Man, Lewis. Lewis, if I'm saying your name right, thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone that's interested in supporting, hit that super button, hit the smiley or the super, and feel free to support that way like Louise or Lewis did. Thanks again, Louise. Did you ask a question or something with that donation? I'd like to answer a question. Let's go back in the chat and see what's what. Happy Saturday, folks. Happy Saturday. You may have noticed while I was playing, I tried to do this thing that we can talk about where I play in 3 and then I go to 6/8 because there's 6/8 notes in 3/4, and I kind of like that contrast between the two because going from 4/4 to 6/8 is so common. You know, the doom ba doom doom da ding ding da ding ding, right? That's like 4/4 and 6/8, and that's so common. But going 3/4 to 6/8, I think is super cool. And then once you're in 6/8, you can kind of feel 4 underneath of it because that's, you know, that's the common thing. And so I tried to kind of insinuate that, and then actually go to 4, as sloppy as that was. Then blow in 4 a little bit, go back to 6/8, and then spell out the 3 under the 6/8, and then go back to 3. So that's what I tried to do. I actually have an old YouTube video talking about that, and we can talk about it some more if you guys want. I think that stuff is super, super interesting. It allows you to, like, you know, a lot of freedom to play in different fields at the same time, you know. And it's kind of interesting because the the way I came up with that is in this trio I play in. You know, these guys had this song, and it was like a slow thing in 3, and the vamp that I was to solo over was like dan 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 3, and it's like it's kind of slow, right? And so I kind of wanted to cheat a little bit, and I'm like, well, how can I get this to feel faster so I can play different stuff? And so that's where I was like, well, wait, there's 6/8 notes in 3/4, and I know how to play in 6/8 pretty well. So how do we get to 6/8 from 3/4, right? Because there's 6/8 notes. So it's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the key to that was I just had to kind of memorize, you know, what those two sounded like back and forth, like dun dun chicka cha dun dun chicka chucking dance jan jan chicka chucking dance jan jan chicka gutting dance jan jan chucking jan jan chicka gutting dance. Right, so singing that 6/8 pattern, being able to feel 3 underneath of it, and at that point the 6/8 is actually their 16th notes, but it helps to write all this stuff out. But the point is, I wanted to you know, do different feels and have that open doors to play different things. Looks like we got another donation here, folks. Mark Finley, $10 for the Neil Peart video. Mark, thank you so much, Mark. Really, really, really appreciate it. Yeah, some of you may have seen on my YouTube channel, I have like a tribute video to Neil Peart because he was a huge hero of mine when I was young, like in high school, and really helped shape the foundation of my drumming and stuff. So after he passed away, I was like, I got to do a video because I'm like you know, I'm into the video editing thing, and I thought this would be a great topic. So so I did. So if you haven't seen that, check it out on my channel. The name of the video is like What Made Neil Peart So Great. So yeah, check that out. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate that. Let's see where we are with the comments. Let's start at the beginning. Hello from Seattle, says Corey. Hello, Corey. Hello from Minnesota. You're my favorite drummer. I love your style. So wacky, says Luis Gonzalez. Is that the same Luis that donated? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So wacky. I'll take it. I'll take the wacky compliment. I'll take the points. Okay. Ryan Arp says hi from Canada. Really enjoy your playing. Great job. Thank you very much, Ryan. I've got some Canadian ties. My wife is is from Canada, and so we go up there to Montreal, actually. There's a pretty cool jazz scene up there. I'd love to just hang out there and do some playing. Great feeling technique, says Corey. Thanks for the inspiration. Thank you. Would you mind telling me what cymbal you have above the hi-hat? Really like the sound. Well, there's several above the hi-hat here. And it's funny because I'm not really like a big gear head, but I'll just quickly, like this on my left is an Azuka, 15-inch Azuka with sizzles. And I like it because, and those of you who have seen the stream before, I always say the same thing about these cymbals. It kind of serves the purpose of a China type cymbal, but it's not as abrasive. Like Chinas can be a little, you know, I don't know, abrasive, but they have a unique sound, and so I wanted that sound without the kind of like full-on cannon that a China can be. This little cymbal is a stack. It's a 10-inch trash former. These are Zildjian. Trash former with a, surprise, let's see, an 8-inch A custom splash. This is what I got. I have a bunch of cymbals over there, and I like, you know, experimenting with different stacks and stuff and seeing what's what, you know. And I wanted like a little staccato thing. And you may have seen on the stream, like, you know, when I try to hit this little thing, I often hit this crash cymbal, and so I'm still trying to get that muscle memory worked out and adjusting the stands a little bit. So that's what that is. This crash here is a 16-inch custom session crash. It's a K custom session crash from Zildjian. All right, that's what's above the hi-hat. This is a 10-inch custom EFX with holes. The ride is my favorite ride ever. It's a 20-inch custom dry light. Love this ride. Back here we've got a 15-inch A custom crash. And then way in the back is a custom special dry crash. So that's the cymbal setup. Let's see. Nice. You're totally nuts, dude. Love it. Yeah, I am nuts. Let's see. What are your go-to rudiment when you need a tasty roll? Well, it depends on the tempo and what kind of sound I want the roll to be. I mean, normally I like the open, you know, kind of open roll, you know, clean doubles. I'm all about the double stroke rolls, as you may have seen. I've got like a 3-part video series on that on my channel where I talk all about developing clean double stroke rolls and how to translate that to playing cool phrases. So I would encourage folks to check that out. How many months or years does it take to get fast finger in physical, or how many months or years to play 30-second notes fluently? I spend 2 hours a day, says Just Player XXX. Well, if you continue to practice and you're practicing the right things, the right amount, and then you can do the thing, that's how long it takes. It's different for each person, you know, but you have to practice the right things enough. I mean, you mentioned finger control. I mean, there's plenty of videos on that, and I find that finger control is useful for kind of lower to medium volume stuff, but it's the kind of thing where, I don't know, I can actually turn it on and not really notice. It's just a knob that your body uses if you're trying to play a certain thing and your body's like, oh, if we're going to do this, we need to turn on the fingers. And so it's mostly like several notes in succession, you know, with the fingers and the wrist and the arm. Like, those are the 3 things, right? Fingers, wrist, arm. You know, you got to get all 3, you know, to working. And you want to make sure that you're not fighting yourself. You know, the body wants to move like in a natural way, you know, and if you fight that, then you're just hurting yourself, you know. And there's lots of videos on this stuff, you know. Weckel's all into this stuff, and I kind of got into it a little bit, not as much as him, but you can't deny that logic, you know. So just like make sure, you know, take your kit down and set up just a bass drum and a snare drum, and just play, you know. Get comfortable, check your heights, make sure that your thighs are flat, and so your legs aren't, you know, I like to keep my thighs flat because otherwise, like, I don't know, I think I have to kind of work my legs harder. But then you look at a guy like Scott Travis, like double bass legend, his legs are really high. So, you know, you just do the work and kind of get to where you want. But it's important to me to not like fight myself because it's hard enough as it is, right? And for the finger stuff, like I just did the standard like palm down, you know. I mean, I guess it's silly to spend this much time talking about it and not like demonstrate anything. Oh, there goes my drum key. I mean, for different grips, right? I mean, it depends. You know, for the right hand, you know, for match grip, you know, I mean, again, like just making sure, like fingers, wrist, arm, you know, and just for fingers, you know, just focus on the fingers, and the same with traditional grip, you know, like my ring finger kind of supports the stick, you know, it supports it, but it's not where the fulcrum is. The fulcrum is the actual like gripping place, like where you're actually holding it, right? And so for that, for traditional grip, it's like index finger and thumb, right? Like do this, be able to do this. And then these two fingers underneath, ring and pinky, and then these two fingers over top. But the grip is like in between the index finger and the thumb, right? That's where my grip is anyway. So at that point, I'm like, okay, wrist, arm, and fingers. You know, and the stick kind of wants to bounce, but drum heads are bouncy. They want to bounce, and so I try to just kind of dribble it like a ball, you know, and try to use that to my advantage, you know, with both hands. Let's see, dude, love it. Alan Soto with the flames. Lavish D back for more. Lavish, you're in every stream, buddy. I appreciate the support. Dang, Steve, you had that triple shot of coffee this morning. You're playing at Warp Speed. Yeah, I did have some coffee. Thank you for the compliment. Any tips on linear grooving? Not really. I'm not really good at linear grooving. Except, you know, the Bible for that stuff is like Chafee, right? Get a Chafee book. I'm sure there's tons of videos of people demonstrating the Chafee stuff. But I mean, I guess, I don't know, a better answer is, you know, making the cool stuff about the linear stuff is kind of like that dynamic flow, that flow that it has, you know, because for folks that don't know what linear is, linear means like, you know, only one voice at a time, you know, no two voices on top of each other. That's my understanding anyway. And so when you play a cool linear groove, you know, like the old Garibaldi stuff, I mean, I'm sure there's been lots of stuff since then that's maybe, you know, better examples or whatever, but he was the guy that like put that stuff on the map, like Gary Chafee, the teacher, and then Dave Garibaldi, you know, from Tower Power, and that kind of thing. Just check those guys out. And the one thing, the benefit to that stuff that I like, I mean, I don't play that style a lot, but every time I hear someone do it well, I just like the kind of flow of it, the kind of relaxed flow that you get when you can do something well, you know? That's what I like about the linear stuff. Louise with the $50 donation. Thank you very much, Louise. We talked about that. Really appreciate that. Mark Finley, again, thank you. Let's see what else we got. Okay, 10,000 hours practice minimum to get to the point where you are very fluid with the technique, says Elaine. Thank you, Elaine. Let's see, Dude Rossi, great fan from Brazil. Yeah, Brazil, man, the land of music. My life isn't enough. Oh, just player. My life is good enough to play, and I quit better. Thanks, Elaine. Let's see. Good evening. Where can I find your altered jazz albums? Geez, that's a good question. Yeah, geez. I mean, I haven't looked for a while. I mean, maybe Amazon. The bass player from Altered is John Flitcraft. I think he might actually have them for sale on his website. Altered is an instrumental trio that I play in, and we put out like 3 CDs a while ago that I'm pretty proud of, actually. And I think you can stream that stuff as well, like on Spotify, etc. The first album, or the first CD, whatever you want to call it, is just self-titled, I think. And the second one is called Graphic, and the third one, forget the name of the third one, you guys, I'm so sorry. But on my channel, too, there's a pretty cool making of video with Altered. And actually, now that I think of it, on my channel, there's plenty of videos playing with Altered at the Baked Potato and some behind-the-scenes footage of us recording those CDs. That stuff was super fun. So check that out. Well, there'll be a sequel to Traditional Grip. I don't think so, man. Traditional Grip is a short film that a friend and I made years ago that kind of went viral in the way that videos can go viral back then. It's a little comedy movie with some drum geek humor in there, where Traditional Grip visits a couple of guys. So probably not. Traditional Grip is one of those things where it doesn't need a sequel. It just kind of has its own cultural significance, and we're just going to let Traditional Grip, you know, speak for itself, I think. It doesn't need to say anything else. Let's see. Wisdom words on swing grooves and jazz drumming, please. Man, Jazz drumming, maybe we'll talk about that. Let's do the rest of the comments here. It's basically 10,000 hours to master anything. Okay, you guys are having a conversation amongst yourselves, it looks like. So glad I stumbled upon your stream today, says Greg Moore. How do I make sure I don't miss future ones? Greg, I'm so sorry. There's really no schedule. It's mostly on weekends. Like last 3 weeks I did it on Sunday, and today I just did it on Saturday. So it kind of depends on what's going on in my personal life and when I have a few hours to do this. But normally on weekends. And so there is a bit of an unpredictable nature to this, unfortunately. But the good news is I've been saving these, and so all the past streams are sitting in my channel right now. You can watch them, and unless something disastrous happens in this one, I'll probably save this too. Let's see, is it Angular? Yes, Angular is the name of the third Altered CD. Thank you. There's a cool video of us in the studio recording that as well. Let's see, so okay, I'm a 48-year-old newbie for drum, but I won't quit and I will success. No way, because I believe. Thanks to the answer, Stephen Elaine, you are great. Okay, 48 years old. You know, honestly, it's not a contest. This is something that I say. It's not a contest. It's about you getting what you want to get out of it, you know, and if you're not playing up to the level that you want, then just keep practicing. And don't be in a hurry, you know, just practice the right things enough. That's what it's about. It's about practicing the right things for the right amount of time. And what are the right things to practice? I mean, there's tons. There's never been more resources available. There's never been more, literally. In the history of mankind, right now, this minute, there has never been more resources available for information about just about anything. And so there's kind of no excuse at this point. Find out what the right stuff is to practice and practice it enough. You know, that's really it. All right. Someone mentioned jazz drumming. Thanks for the donations, everyone, by the way. Several people donated. I really appreciate it. Anyone that's interested in supporting the channel, hit that super button with the smiley or the little dollar sign. And yeah, we're going to keep the good thing going. I've got a bunch of instructional videos on my channel, but the drumming one, it actually has more views than most of the other ones. That drumming video has kind of gone viral. So anyone that's interested in my thoughts on jazz drumming that has not seen that video, I recommend that you check it out. It's on my channel. Let's see. Let's try to find that question about swing drumming. Oh, Sharma Time with the $10 donation. I didn't mention you. Sharama Time? Let's say Sharama Time. With the $10 donation. Thank you very much. Sharama Time. I like the sound of that. Sharama Time. Sharama. It's like a drum lick. Sharama Time. Sharama Time. Okay, that's what you get for your donation. Me singing your name like a drum lick. So boom. Let me find that question about the swing drum again. This is like a boring stream. You get to watch me like scroll on my laptop. Let's see. Will have been a sequel. Okay, words of wisdom on swing groove and jazz drumming, please. Okay, it says FT period Gal Pardo. I don't know what FT is for. Sorry, Gal Pardo. Man, jazz drumming. Let's see, Greg Moore, thanks. Could you maybe give us heads up on the HOD weekend chatty? Yeah, sure, I'll do that. HOD is House of Drumming. If you guys aren't familiar, I have a kind of an old drumming website called House of Drumming. That's basically just a forum at this point where actually a lot of regulars that have been there for a long time and myself, we just chat on there about various drum things. Thoughts, opinions on Roger's Dino-Sonic snare drum? I don't have any thoughts or opinions on it because I'm not familiar with it. Okay, so, geez, jazz drumming. I mean, we could talk about it all day, but I'm not going to get too much into it. But the thing that I never hear folks talk about with jazz drumming, and let me preface this by saying that I don't consider myself like an expert in jazz drumming. I've done a lot of jazz gigs. I've spent a lot of time working on this, but I'm not doing a lot of gigging these days. And the strength of a jazz musician comes from playing with other people, not from like practicing on your own. You know, like that's the foundation. That's not even the house. You know, the stuff, learning how to play jazz is like the cement foundation. If you want to build the house, you got to play with other musicians. You got to learn and get familiar with like all jazz music, basically. It's a super huge, endless thing, and you have to like jazz music. I mean, that's usually my first question. If someone's like, hey, how do I play jazz music? My first question is like, well, do you like jazz music? Because if you don't, I wouldn't recommend learning how to play jazz music. Unless you're like a working drummer only and you have to play drums to pay the bills and you need to learn how to play jazz for that purpose. Then I guess, sure, you got to learn it anyway, right? Use the Weckl signature snare on your shelf. I tried that snare actually. It wasn't a huge fan. In this room anyway. It might sound amazing in other rooms. So yeah, the thing that a lot of drum teachers don't talk about when it comes to jazz drumming, and I think this is actually because unfortunately there's a lot of drum teachers out there that just don't have a lot of experience. They get good enough to teach and then they just teach. And so they don't really give you that pro information that you get from doing tons of gigs. And I'm not speaking for all drummers, all drum teachers, I mean just some, right? So like the basics of jazz drumming is like jazz independence, right? Is like, there's tons of books on this. It's basically like, you know, playing the swing pattern with your right hand, you know, stomping 2 and 4 with your left foot, and maybe quarter notes on the bass drum, maybe not. And being able to play just about anything with your left hand against that, right? I had that old Element Phones and I loved it. Yeah, maybe I'll give it another try, the Weckl snare. But the thing about like jazz drumming that not a lot of folks talk about is dynamics, right? Like you are your own producer, you are your own mixer, right? And the volume of each thing on the kit is important, right? If you're playing like a backbeat groove and it's like hi-hat and snare drum and bass drum, and you're just like boots, dots, right? Like the most basic thing. Like if the hi-hat is 10 times louder than everything, that's going to affect the feel of that. If the snare drum's like 10 times too quiet compared to if it's a boom, bah! Like if anything is too loud or too soft, it's going to have a drastic effect on how it feels. And so you have to be aware of that. You know, you have to control your own volume and make sure things are the volume that they need to be for things to feel the best, right? That's what you need to do, and it's particularly, well, I want to say it's particularly important for jazz drumming, but it's important for all feels. But you know, playing jazz and having it feel good is such a kind of obscure thing, because there's no like, oh yeah, that bass drum's in the right place and that backbeat's in the right place because it's in the same place every time, right? Like if you're playing a backbeat groove and you just listen back, you know, like you know where the backbeat is, you can hear it it's at the same place every time, and that's not the case with jazz drumming. With drums, this is the same place every time, right? This is the driving force. This is the quarter note. This is the time when you're playing jazz, and so you have to make sure this is in the right place and the right volume and the right feel, and you have to make sure that it's locking with the bass player and the tune, and it's not getting in the way. You have to make sure the stuff underneath the ride cymbal is not getting in the way. So if you just take like very basic jazz independence, and I'll try to get something going where I'm playing like some basic jazz independent stuff, and I'll play it at like different volumes, and I'll demonstrate, you know, it's sounding good and sounding bad, and you know, there's some exaggeration involved and whatever, but the point remains, right? So you can see like the really loud, you know, the cymbal was louder, the snare drum was louder, and it's like those are faders that you have at your disposal, and folks don't really pay attention to that stuff. But it really is like a dance between this and this and this, and that kind of flow, that dance is like, that's what drives the music, you know. So just listen. Like the records that I mentioned in my video that I'll mention now, that I really like, man, when I hear it, I just can't believe how hard it swings, and I'm like, that's what I want it to sound like when I play jazz. And I don't think I sound like that when I do, but that's my beacon. It's like, there's so many, right? Wynton Marsalis, Standard Time Volume 1 is an old record with Jeff Tain Watts, who is my favorite jazz drummer, period, the end. Jeff Tain Watts. You guys, if you're not hip to Jeff, go down the rabbit hole and just listen, right? That's the thing, I think, with music in particular. Like, you got to get inside mentally. You got to get inside the music and have it become second nature what makes the music so special. You know, first you got to recognize that what makes it special, then you got to understand it. And the way to do that, I think, is not so much by watching, which is what we all do, right? Laptops, phones, it's all visual. There's a huge benefit to just not looking and just listening. Huge benefit. Get like Wynton Marsalis, Standard Time Volume 1, and just don't look at anything, and put on headphones and just listen and see if it reaches you. See if when the bass player starts walking and Jeff starts playing time and Wynton starts soloing, see how you feel. Because I felt like, wow, when I heard that. I was like, this is swinging so hard. This is amazing, you know? And so just that times a million, really. And I mean, it's hard to kind of get a sense of what someone's playing just by listening, and so watching is helpful and that kind of thing. But it's all about the cymbal and how the cymbal is feeling.